Great, everything is visible.
Yeah. You can continue.
Okay. So I have created a file called this is the default file which you get, main.dart, inside the lib folder of the project. So let's write void main because that's the first function. Okay, one second. That's the first function which gets executed when the project is run. So now we'll be using a function called run app, which Shashank had explained already in the last session. So, okay, inside that we'll use the material app. Material app, okay. And yeah, let's define some parameters inside this. So as you can hover over this, you'll get so many parameters which material app supports, like say title. You can set a theme of your app. You can set like what theme has to be set when it's dark, and theme mode is there. Locale, which means your internationalization. Suppose you're in the US, so you get US specific date and times. And yeah, these are some properties. So let's set some of them. Say let's set the title to say I am DB app. Okay, and the initial page which has to be displayed, we'll name it with the home parameter. If you can hover over this, it says right. If home is specified, then routes must not include an entry. Okay, this will be explained later. Yeah, so basically home is the widget which has to be called on opening the app. Basically, that's the initial widget with the app will display. So let's name it something called home screen. Okay, so we didn't define home screen yet, so that's why it's showing the squiggle. Yeah, so let's create a folder inside our project called screens, which will contain all the screens which our app will contain. So let's create home screen dot dot. Okay, so here basically as of now we will need a stateless widget. In the future, when we make the app more dynamic, we'll convert it to stateful. That's not a big task. So I'll be creating a stateless widget here, saying home screen. Okay, so I should be able to import it here now. Yeah. So I have imported home screen and now it does not throw. It says use constant because this data is not dynamic as of now. The parameters and the function is not dynamic as of now. So it asks us to use a constant keyword. That's not an issue. So yeah, inside home screen, this is the initial screen which the app displays. Okay, so here let's start off with something called a scaffold. Okay, and scaffold has many parameters again. Say app bar, body, floating action button. You can set the location of the floating action button. You can set animations for that. And alignment, we have drawers. Okay, and we have bottom navigation bar. There are so many properties you can explore. So one second. Yeah, continuing. So basic two sections which are most used in a scaffold are the app bar and the body. App bar is the top displayed. Okay, let me start an emulator to give more idea about this. So okay, I hope it's visible. So let me run the app as of now. So yeah, because we provided only a scaffold, it just displays a white background because that's according to the material guidelines. So yeah, let's define an app bar. Filling the app bar with it. So if you hover over this, again, it's an app bar. It has again parameters like leading, the leading widget. Then there is a widget for the title. You can specify actions. Okay. And elevation of the app bar over the background. So other properties. Let's just define some basic properties now, like say title. So let's keep it a text. It says movies. Okay. So because it's going to be constant, let's just give the constant keyword so that it doesn't have to rebuild every time. And if we just save this, yeah, so you can see an app bar has come. So the default theme of the app generally remains blue. So that's why this blue color. You can, I think, change the color as well. So shadow color, background color, foreground color, those are properties you can explore. So let's just, if you want to get this title to center, just set the center title to true and gets it in between. And you can specify background color as well. Say colors dot indigo. So you can see the color of the background has changed. And if you want to change the color of the foreground, that is the title, you can give the foreground color, say this for sample, colors dot black, just to show it works fine. Yeah, the movie's title is getting changed. So I'll just comment it out. Doesn't look good. That's why. Okay. So there's another property called the body, which will be displayed in the rest left space of the scaffold. So yeah, let's just have a body and let's name it like we will be displaying a list of movies here. As of now, I'll be giving static data. In the future sections, we can see how to fetch it from the internet. So I'll be naming it movies list this. Okay. And because again, we didn't create the widget yet, so that's why it's throwing this error. So yeah, let's create another screen here. New file and movies list this dot. Okay. So again, a stateless widget. Yeah. Uh, so we will be using list view here. Okay. Because we need a list of movies. There is a widget called list view, which does the same for us. Basically, list view. Okay. So in list view, what happens? You can specify a list of children. Okay. It's similar to a column, but it's a bit advanced feature of column where you have like scroll controllers here, and you have scroll physics for that. You have shrink wraps, and you can explore more of this. So as of now, let's just specify the axis dot vertical is the default scrolling thing. So now, yeah, we have a property called children where you can define the children which has to be displayed within it. So now let's just define children and inside children we need a widget. We need a widget to display each movie basically. So we'll be breaking down the app into screens and then into widgets as well. So let's just import this as of now and resolve this error. Yeah. So after that, we will create a widget now. Yeah. So let's create a folder called widgets. Okay, cool. Inside widgets, let's create a file called list card. For example, these are just naming conventions. You can do it as well. Okay, let's create a stateless widget again. List card and side list card. Say it should be tappable so that if you tap on that card, then we will have another screen which opens up, which shows more details about that movie. So we have two major widgets which support tapping. One is inkwell and one is a gesture detector. So inkwell is, you can say, kind of like gesture detector, but it has some ripple effects and animations on the top surface. So internally there are changes. So let's just go for inkwell. Looks cool. Okay. So Inside inkwell, we can define a function which has to be triggered when the widget is tapped. Okay. So let's just keep it blank as of now. And let's just define the child to be say a card. Card again, you can say it's an advanced version of a container where you can have more control over things which is going on inside. Yeah. So we can set the elevation of the card. Say let's set it to 5. So we'll just call this as of now and see what changes is happening here. This card should be there. Yeah, should be a comma, right? Yeah. So let's keep it constant as of now. Let's call this 5 times. 3 times should be fine. Yeah. So because the height of the card is 0, we are not able to see anything here. Yeah. Continuing. Let's give a margin for that so that it gets separated from the other cards and just not joins one another. So say for margin, it expects a data type of edge insert geometry. Yeah, you can hover over that and get more about it. So edge inserts dot say there are zero means 0 offsets in each direction. You can have the description of each one here. So all means the same value will be applied to the margin of all the 4 sides. And there is something called only, which you can specify like for every single side. They say left, top, right, bottom, etc. Symmetric means horizontally and vertically you can control separately. Yeah. So let's specify symmetric here and say horizontal to be 25 and vertical to be 10. Yeah, randomly. Okay. So the margin has been defined here, and let's define the child for this. Let's keep it a container. Okay. Say color of the container should be white. So colors dot white. And let's just giving a padding. I mean, you guys should know the difference between margin and padding. Okay. So margin is basically the space which has to be left from the parent widget and this widget. So how do I explain this? Yeah. So margin reduces the space which this widget occupies. I will show you the difference. Okay. So let's say padding. For now, let's just give a padding. Edge insets dot symmetric again. Horizontal should be 20. I don't need any version. Okay. And let's just define a row for this. Row is a widget where it supports multiple children which are arranged horizontally. Simple terms like basically if you have an Excel sheet, it has a row of cells. So similarly, this is a row of widgets. So let's give a size box. Again, size box is used is a widget which is used to specify a particular dimension for its child. Okay. So let's specify dimensions. So let's say the width is 50 and height is 50. I'm randomly giving these. And let's give a child for this. Say we want to give an image for the poster of the image, okay? But then we don't have it on our local storage. We need to fetch it from the World Wide Web. So what we can do is we can use you can use a widget called image.network and you can specify the URL, basically the SRC parameter. That's the URL. So instead of directly copying and pasting the URL here, uh, I would be creating another file in our project saying constants, which would have all the constant values which will be used in the project. Let's maintain a separate file for that. say constant const string because it's a string data type, and let's just name it movie poster. So let's fetch an URL for that. Say we want to fetch Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, okay, I already have it in my search history. So just copy the URL. Just grab this URL and paste it here. Okay, so this has the URL of our image here. So image.network in under source, let's just give movie poster. The good thing with VS Code is that it automatically imports whichever file is necessary for getting the particular string or widget or whatever it is. And now what else can we do in this? So let's save it as of now. Yeah, so you can see there is an elevation which we had specified, and then you have the margins which are applied. Now, as I was telling, the difference between margin and container. Okay, so this entire widget, as you can see, this whole which is gray part is the inkwell widget. Okay, which is defined here. And now there is a card which has been provided a margin of 25 in the horizontal and vertical and 10 in the vertical. So you can see the card is not occupying the remaining space. It is within the confined margin. Okay. And now on the other hand, if you see padding, the container has occupied that much area, but the child which is specified inside this, that is the row, will take the space except this horizontal part which is given. Okay, so 10 is what is mentioned here. So it won't occupy this 10 pixels width or whatever is specified here. Suppose you give vertical here, say 10.0 service. So it won't occupy. It basically expands the outer widget so as to occupy that much space. Okay, so that's the difference between margin and padding. You will get more familiar when you now it might sound confusing, but then as you use these widgets more, you will get familiar with the difference between margin and padding. Okay, so now, yeah, after size box, let's have another widget which is expanded. Now what expanded does is it occupies the entire remaining space which is left for it to occupy. Now say we have a row of widgets. Size box has occupied a certain space inside this card except the padding which has been applied through the container. Okay, so whatever remaining space is left in the widget is totally occupied by this expanded widget. So it expects a child. So now what I want to display here is the full title of the title of the movie as well as the full title, or rather say description, whatever you want. We have to display it here. Okay, so now to display in a column, to display more than one widget in a column, we have the column widget. So this is another widget similar to the row, but then it displays widgets. It arranges widgets vertically rather than horizontally with the row. So let's just give and there are some parameters in column like say main axis alignment. So the main axis of a column is the vertical axis, correct? So the vertical axis will be aligned to the center. So it takes main axis alignment of center. And similarly to control the alignment of the cross axis, that is a horizontal axis. We have another parameter called cross axis alignment. Let's just set that to center as well. And for now, And let's specify children. Again, for children, we can give a text. Text is a widget which is used to display like, any kind of strings which or anything which you want to display in textual format, right? So you can use text. It expects a string as a parameter. Let's say for now, let's say title. Okay. And then if you want to give a space between two widgets, you can use a constant size box, giving a height. In this case, we want to give space in the vertical axis, so we'll specify height. If you want to give space in the horizontal axis, you can specify width. So let's just say we give a height of say 20. Yeah. And another text, maybe full title. Yeah. So should work fine. Yeah. So this is the card which has been, this is the list card. Okay. Any questions till now? Anyone? Okay. So let's move ahead. Now coming back to the movies list display. So yeah, we had used the list view where we had specified a constant number of children. Say if we specify a fourth child, we have four cards. Okay. So assume a scenario where you have more than 500 cards. I mean, it's really difficult to hard code like calling each widget 500 times. Or maybe assume a situation where you have to control the number of children inside the list view dynamically based on a variable which may be changing. So in such cases, list view provides another sub widget of its kind, you can say, saying list view dot builder. It's another constructor inside list view. So list view dot builder expects some required parameters like the item builder. Okay. And this takes in a function and it has parameters of context and index. Index is the current index of the, or say, let's say you have 10 items. So the first one, it has zero based indexing. Okay. So the first widget will have a zero index and the second widget will have one index and so on. So let's just say this card here. I don't know. Okay. So it's constant. It's not changing with time or it's not changing with parameters. So let's just be constant and you can control the item count. Item count, say let's say 20. And you have to return here or you can use the fat arrow, both works. So now if we run this, it has a set of 20 widgets. Okay, works fine. Cool. So say we keep it to 50 or let's say 10 now. It just changes to 10. Yeah. So we have the basic home page ready here, each of which is tappable, each widget of which is tappable. Yeah. And this is a card with elevation 5. It shows the title, full title. You have the movie poster here. This is a column and this poster along with this column is arranged in a row which has been given a padding of vertical and horizontal, and that entire thing is enclosed inside a card which has been given a margin from the outer inkwell as specified. So this is the basic list card which we'll be using here and home screen. Yeah. So now the movie list display is pretty much done. So now let's design the details page. Okay. So another screen. So now whenever we what how we want to design is that whenever we tap on a particular movie, it redirects us to another page inside the app itself, which will give a like more detailed description about that movie. Say you have the title, you have the full title, some description, information about the casts who are acting in that movie, and so on. Maybe IMDb ratings, YouTube links for the trailer, or maybe even options to add them to your watch list. If you guys have used Google TV app, you have a feature to add a particular movie into your watch list, right? So kind of that. Let's create another screen saying details page, right? Details screen or details page, whatever it is. Just name a screen. But yeah, another stateless widget as of now. If we need to convert it to stateful, we can just do it. Not a big deal. So let's name it details page. Okay. So it's a whole new screen. So let's start off again from the scratch. Let's give a scaffold and specify the app bar. Okay. Now inside title, let's say we want the title of the movie we display. As of now, we'll just hard code this title as a title, but later we will be learning how to pass in parameters from another widget into this widget and then use it dynamically, right? So let's just say center title is 2 so that the title comes in center. And again, background colors dot indigo, which we had set for this indigo accent, right? Yeah. So we won't have any logic. We don't have any logic as of now to route to this page. So as of now, let's just set the default page to detail screen that we can see what exactly is going on with the widget, right? Let's restart the app. Yeah. So we had specified title here. That exact title is coming here. And it's centered with the background color of indigo accent. Yeah. So now let's learn about another parameter inside scaffold saying floating action button, and if you guys have even used the Iris app, then you know that tell Iris button, which like floats around in the bottom, that's known as a floating action button. So it takes in a parent widget of floating action button. Right. So it requires, it has these many parameters, but it requires a parameter of on press. So on press basically takes in a function which gets executed when that floating action button is pressed. So as of now, let's just leave it empty. It was required, so I just specified this. And say we want to specify the background color to match with the app, and let's just hard code it to colors.indigo accent as of now. Yeah. So to save this, you get the floating action button right there. Nothing happens is on tab because our on press function is empty as of now. So you want something to display. Say you want a watch list icon to be displayed inside it. Let's just give a child. Let's keep it an icon. Icons dot favorite. So let me specify constant here because I'm gonna change. So yeah, the favorite icon. As you can see, this is the favorite icon. Icons dot favorite. It's a heart icon which appears here. And yeah, tooltip. There is another parameter called tooltip. Tooltip basically, if you are using an app and you long press, so it gives a description of what exactly the button does. So now let's specify add to watch list. Yeah. So now if I long press on this, it says it shows add to watch list there, right there. That's a tooltip. Okay. So we'll be coding on press in the coming days, but for now I will just leave it blank. Let's have a body here for the scaffold. So there is a widget called single child scroll view. Basically what it does is on the top level, if you want to just understand the basic function of single child scroll view, then what it does is it allows you to scroll. Say we have a list view. We'll just demonstrate this quickly. And we have children property to be a list card. Okay, it's just a demo. And we have say 20 of them. Or rather say let's just okay, list view doesn't do that. Let's do it column. Okay. And so we have many number of list view. So if I save this, you can see there's a warning here. Yellow background with black stripes saying that the bottom has been overflowed by 65 widgets. That means what this exactly means is that we have 1 second. Okay, so sorry for the delay. We have the total, what you can say, space on the screen which this column along with all its children takes is more than the available size on the screen, right? And column does not know that the page can be scrollable. So what we do is that if we provide single child scroll view to this, yeah. So now what it tells the Flutter framework to do is that it allows you, it allows the column to take as much space as it wants. It displays only the uh, widgets which are in the current space, which is this media query.text.height, which is the present height, which is allowed by the display. And then when you scroll down, it shows the remaining widgets, right? So that is how single child scroll view works on the top. So let's just remove this. Required as of now. And let's just keep the column there. Okay. So let's just give a constant size box. Let's say height 30. Yeah. And let's just give this image fully. Okay, the same image, let's just expand it and show so that when a user taps on it, he can get a more clearer view of the poster. So let's keep a constant size box. Okay, let's just give a size box which has height of 200. I'm just giving this value randomly. Okay, you can give anything on a width of 100, say, and you will have a child again, image.network and movie poster. The same image which will be displayed on a bigger scale. Okay. So if I save this, you can see that you have the movie poster displayed here. Okay. So now if I give the main axis alignment to center and say cross axis alignment also to center, doesn't happen. Okay, let's just come back to this later. Let's give a text saying title. You get a title over here. And we have another description. So we give a size box of height 20 again. We have a description here after this. Okay, let's make it constant. So we have another description here. You can change it with random variables and parameters passed in. And then another text which says we can display the cast. So again, we can provide spacing again using the size box. So you can see the spacing has come. And now let's display the cast. Okay. So for displaying the cast, let's use a size box again. So size box, let's say it takes up a height of 100 and we have a child here. So let's learn about another widget, say page view. Okay. So it is similar to a list view, but what this does is it occupies the entire space which its parent widget has, and then you can scroll up and down. Okay. So page view, and again similar to list view, if you want a custom page view to be built based on the dynamic data which you provide in, then you can have an item build page view dot builder constructor, and inside which you can provide an item builder. So let's just say item builder will have context and index. Just remove the subscriber message, it comes up. Okay, and return. Let's just say a card. Has a fat arrow, so return doesn't make sense. Okay, it returns a card as of now. It's an empty widget, so you won't be able to see anything anyways. So it has some other parameters. Let's say scroll direction. Scroll direction axis dot. Okay, horizontal and vertical. So horizontal means you will be able to swipe left and right. Vertical means up and down. Let's just keep it vertical as of now. And let's just give it an item count. Let's just hard code it as of now. Later you can change it according to your variables, which you fetch from the data. Make it const here. Okay, doesn't work const here because we're passing in par. Yeah, so this should be const as of now. So as you can see, I mean, I'm not sure if it should be seen. Let's just change the color to colors.black so that you can see it better. Yeah, so if you can see here, this is a card constructed which has a color of black. Okay, and if you can see here, this is an entire page which it's occupying. The entire space has been occupied by this card because it's under the page view, and because we have specified axis.vertical, we can scroll up and down. Yeah, and there are 10. The item count has been specified as 10, so there will be 10 cards which will be constructed one below the other. You know, and you have some parameters. Let's just say pattern, scroll behavior. Okay, you will have page snapping, you have physics, you have custom. You can even use custom controllers to have more control over the type of scrolling what you do, and you have functions to be executed when the page is changed. Suppose you go from page 1 to page 2, you want to perform an action, so you can do that. And these are some of the parameters which the page view.builder takes. You can explore it on your own. For now, let's just keep it simple. So yeah, so this is a page view which is built. So now what we will do is we will create a widget to display content inside this card, whichever is specified here, right? So let's just replace card with say cast card, because that's what we had decided. We'll be displaying cast information here, right? So let's just inside widgets, we'll create another widget saying cast card dot, right? So another stateless widget. This will name the cast card and import it here. Yeah, so the import statement has been added. So let's design the cast card, right? So we don't need a scaffold here because it's just inside, it's just a sub widget of an entire parent widget already having a scaffold. So let's just start from where we had left. We had a card widget, right? And wait a second. Let's just import material dot dot. Yeah. And let's again give it an elevation of 5. gives a shadow between beneath it. Looks cool. And again, let's just specify a margin. Say edge insets dot symmetric, and give it an horizontal margin of, let's say, 20. Yeah. And child will be a row widget where we'll have two children in the row. Basically, one of them will be the image of the cast, and the second one you can say it will be the name of the cast and what was the name of the character which the cast had played, right? So let's just specify the children. Yeah. And now what we can do is there is another way of fetching images, that is from your local disk storage, right? You can save an image in your project directory, and then you can just use the path of the image where you had stored it to get the image, right? So let's just search up for say image of Benedict Cumberbatch because he acted in that. Yeah. So let's download this guy's image. Okay. So coming back to our directory, let's create a separate folder outside lib saying assets, where you will store all the images, fonts, and everything which you have. And inside assets, we'll have a folder called images, inside which we will store this guy's image. And to make it easy, let's just rename it to benedict.jpg. Okay, it's JPG image. Let's just close all these things. Now, how you will be able to use this image inside your Flutter project is to fetch this through pubspec.yaml. There is a parameter called assets in this YAML file, which you need to uncomment. Right here, simple. Just uncomment one of the parameters of the list and make it JPG first of all, and name it Benedict because that's the image. Because we have images inside assets, we'll just specify the entire path. So now it should be fine. Just run flutter pub get. You can just use the button over here which VS Code provides. Okay, so now let's just copy this path again. Save it inside our constants. Let's name it const string cast image. And let's just keep the path here, right? So now inside our cast card, children, let's give an asset image using image.asset. The name will be cast image. Name is basically the path of the image which you have stored in your project directory, right? So now if I save this, you will be able to see that the image which we had downloaded and stored in our assets folder in our project directory is up here, right? Yeah. So this is another interesting widget. You can try out more parameters inside this, saying bundle, frame builder, error builder, right? So suppose the app isn't able to fetch your image for some reason, you can specify a parameter called error builder and you can create a separate widget to handle that error, right? Instead of having weird errors pop up from Flutter debug. And to take up the remaining space which is left in this card, we'll as usual use the expanded widget. And inside expanded, let's just take the center space of whatever is left. So there is a center widget. Center widget takes up it allows you to align your widget to the center of the available space to its parent, right? So we'll just give a child as a text, and this text will have, let's say, Benedict as Sherlock. If we save this, you can see it is in the center. It is occupying the entire space which is available because of the expanded. And in that entire available space, it is taking the center and saying it's displaying the text widget saying Benedict as Sherlock. So now there is One important property which I would like to discuss about widgets. There is this line in the Flutter documentation which says sizes go down, constraints go up. Constraints go down, sizes go up, and then the parent allocates the space for the children, right? So if I search for it, yeah. So this is from the Flutter documentation itself, which says constraints go down, sizes go up, and parent sets the position of its child. Let me share screen again. Is it visible? Can anyone confirm? Hello, am I audible? Okay, thank you. Is my screen visible? Okay. Hello, 1 second. Hello, Anirudh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
You can see VS Code now. Huh?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So yeah, as I was telling, constraints go down, sizes go up, parent says position. This is a very important code which is mentioned in the Flutter docs. So Flutter layout cannot be understood. I mean, you can go through its documentation, which basically, says that how it's not like a conventional HTML code that the children get allocated space on the Flutter layout, right? So it's a completely different logic. It's a completely hello. Okay, sorry. So yeah, I was telling what happens exactly in Flutter is that a parent widget tells its children that it has a maximum space of this much. Say in this case, it has a maximum space of 85 and it has a minimum space of 0, right? So the children will have the flexibility to scale itself anywhere between the maximum size and the minimum size, right? So that is called as loose constraint. There are two types of constraints which a parent passes to his child. One is a loose constraints and one more is a tight constraints. Tight constraints is basically a parent forces its child to occupy the exact size which it passes down to its child. But loose constraints, it says that it has a maximum size and a minimum size, and it allows the child to scale to how much ever it wants, right? And the child, what in turn, what it does is it asks the parent to allot it the like, certain amount of size, and so that's the sizes go apart, and then the parent sets position. The parent sets the position of the child as per its constraints and sizes, and then the Flutter widgets get rendered on the screen. So that's how the exact process goes on. I mean, now it might be looking very difficult, but in the like when you practice widgets more, when you use more widgets, then it will be more clear to you as to what is happening. Say for example, container will occupy the entire space which it's available to take, right? But something like flexible will occupy only the space which the child widget requires. So that's the concept of constraints and size, right? So it may be looking daunting as of now. Don't get intimidated. Like, you will get used to it as you go further into widgets. So continuing. Okay. Going back to detail screen. Yeah. So this size box is done. So let's specify more data. Say text widget of, let's say, IMDb rating. And give it a space size box. Let's just say height 20. Giving you the comma here. Yeah. So it displays the IMDb rating there. And another text, say IMDb rating count. Now let's just give a const height space of say 30. Yeah. Let's give constant to all this because as of now let it be constant. Future when we fetch data, we'll remove the constant and that's not an issue. Now there is a concept of buttons. So as you might have seen in many apps, we have certain kinds of buttons, right, to interact with the app. So there are many buttons, let's say text button, raise button, elevated button, and so many of them. So let us use an elevated button. Let me show you elevated button. So obviously, as expected, it takes an on-press parameter to trigger a function when the button is pressed. Yeah, and it accepts a child. So what do you exactly want to display inside the button, right? So let's just say we want to display a constant text which says YouTube link. So what we exactly want to do here is that when we press this button, it has to redirect us to the trailer on YouTube, right? So what the function which the button has to perform on being pressed will be coded into on press. For now, I'm leaving it blank and you can explore other parameters of this. So it's not just one single press, right? You can even detect long presses. You can say what happens when we hover over it, and you have style to style the button more, right? So you can explore all these things, right? So this is the basic layout which we have discussed. Now Now there is a problem in this app. What exactly the problem is that you have two different screens, but they are independent. So now you don't know how to move from one screen to other. What we did here is that we just changed the home from, say the movies list display screen to the details page just to get this. But then that's not the case with the app, right? Where you have a code snapshot which is being sent into production, and you should be able to navigate between one page to another, maybe on the press of a button or maybe by some other event, right? So let's just go back to home screen here. Let's restart the app. Yeah. So now what we want to do is on the press of this card, right? We had defined an inkwell earlier. So on the press of this inkwell, let's just go back to inkwell. Yeah, here the inkwell. So on tab of this, we want to redirect into the details page, right? So here Flutter provides us a default way of navigation, which is navigator dot off, pass in the build context dot push. Okay, it's the most raw way of doing it. So let's just give a material page route, and inside it expects a builder which takes in context, and it returns the page which we want to go. So that's the details page, right? So why is it throwing an error? Another bracket was required. Yeah. So let's just make it constant because it's constant as of now. Give it brackets for better formatting, commas for better formatting. Okay. So now if I restart the app, you have these list cards. So if I press on any individual card, it redirects me to the details page. So this is the most basic method of navigation, that is navigator.off context.push. There are many other types of navigation. We have push name. So I will also show you push named in this tutorial. So Flutter apps on Android, especially by default, they already create a back button, which basically performs the function of going back to the previous page in the route stack, right? So now in my route stack, there is nothing. It's basically a stack which you study in data structures and algorithm. So when you initialize the home screen, that will be the bottommost screen on the route stack. So now when inkwell is pressed, it takes me to this details page, and the details page screen is added over the home screen as the next screen on in the route stack. So when I do navigator.off context.pop, or basically pressing the back button, that particular detail screen page is popped out from the stack and only the home screen is left. So the topmost screen, which is inside the route stack, is being displayed on the app, right? So that's the concept of routing using navigator.off context.push. So basically it's like the same push and pop actions which you perform inside the stack. Yeah. So where was it? List card. Yeah. So here it was. So now let's learn another concept of passing in parameters, right? So imagine you want, now we know how to go from one screen to another, but imagine you want certain data of the present screen to be used into the next screen. We won't have direct access, so we will need to pass in parameters. So how do we pass in parameters? We accept parameters through the constructor, right? So let's say I want to get the title from this card. So whenever I redirect to the details page from that particular card, I want to redirect it by also passing the title and the full title. So let's declare two strings here saying title and yeah. So now why this is throwing an error is that, as you can read here, all final variables must be initialized but full title and title aren't, right? So what we can do is we can accept these two parameters as required parameters because they are not nullable as per the null safety rules. So as required parameters, we can accept this from the calling function, right? So we'll accept title and we'll accept full title. Required is again a keyword which is used to specify that this parameter is actually required, and without that it will throw an error, right? So let's just give a comma here for better formatting. And so as you can see, there is an error here because the title and full title parameters are required, but we did not pass anything, so automatically it passes null. So you can read here, a value of type null cannot be assigned to a parameter of type string, right? So what we can do is, since these are name parameters, let's just specify the name. For now, let's pass in Sherlock. And for the full title, let's say pass in Sherlock Holmes, right? So if I save this, basically let's restart the app. We get to this page with the title and full title passed in. But since we did not use this anywhere inside the detail screen, we are not able to see any changes, right? So now let's just remove this hard-coded title string and give it to title, right? So let's just name it title, and instead of full title, which we had mentioned here, let's just name it as title again. See, again, since it is coming from a variable, we cannot specify constant, right? So the constant keyword goes if, and instead of description, let's say we display the full title, right? So here, let's just remove and display the full title. Again, the constant contradiction comes in. So yeah, now if I restart the app, we have title and full title here. And now when I redirect to the details page, it passes in Sherlock. You can see this is the title and this is the full title which has been displayed here. So now we are successfully able to pass data from one screen into another by using the parameters of that particular widget, right? So this was another important concept which you will be using a lot. So now let's look into another important, I mean, you can't say it's important, but yeah, and a more efficient way of dealing with navigation, which is using route names. So coming back to the main dot. Yeah. So now what we can do is go into every screen here. Say we come into home screen, right? So let's define a static constant string which says home URL, right? Or let's say route name. Let's make it uniform. And let's just give a name for this route, say slash, because we want this to be the default screen, which or the default route which the app has to route in when we open the app, right? When we use this, when we use the main URL of the app, correct? So let's just name it slash. And for the detail screen, because it's a separate screen, we need to specify another route. Say, let's just keep a static const, again route name. It's independent of each other because these are separate widgets. So let's say details, right? Let's say details, correct? So now in the main file, what we can do is comment out this home part because we don't need it anymore. And let's just keep the initial route slash, and let's just create a map of routes so that Flutter exactly knows which route name should redirect to which page. So home screen dot route name, we can access it directly by using the dot operator because it's a static parameter. It's not going to change with the rebuilding of widget. So how we will map is there is a syntax for mapping it, context, and now here we will specify the home screen parameter, the home screen name of the stateless widget, right? So it's asking for const because it's static as of now. There is no dynamic content inside home screen. And for the details page, dot route name, same thing, const details page. Now what this is another problem, right? So what happens? We have to pass in a title and a full title, but because we are in the main function of the app, we will not have access to the title and full title. So there is a workaround for this, as mentioned in the Flutter docs. So what you can do is, let's just go into Flutter docs. Post named in Flutter. Yeah, so api.flutter.dev. So this is the documentation for that. You can refer to this. And 1 second, someone wants to join. Yeah, so continuing. So just refer to the documentation. Now I'll just be implementing this. Let's go into detail screen. Comment this out. Subsequently commenting this out. Correct. And let's just say this time I'll show you for one variable. You can explore more for more than one variable. Correct. So here in the build, before we return the widget which has to be displayed on calling the screen, I will write final arguments. Let's just define the args. So dot of context, and because this is nullable, we need to use the bang operator. Dot settings dot arguments. So whenever we pass an arguments while redirecting to this page, we will have an access through this args variable. So let's just name it args dot toString. So let me demonstrate it to you. What error is it throwing? Full title. Okay. Yeah, should be fine now. Let's make it constant back. So now let's go to list card. So because we don't have any parameters, should make sense. Yeah. And let's, instead of using, what's the error here? Yeah, just remove this off. No, it should be fine. And in list card, instead of using push, let's just remove this whole thing. Let's write navigator dot of context dot push name. Okay. And it's asking for the route name. So what we can do is we can pass in the details page dot route name, right? That's the route name. And there is an additional parameter which is not required, but if you want to pass in arguments, you can do that, saying arguments. And you can pass in arguments as say title, right? Okay, so show it better. Let's just pass in Sherlock. Right. So Sherlock using name routes should be better. Demonstrate, right? So should be reflected here. Let's restart the app because we have changed the routing system itself. So if I redirect, it says Sherlock using route names. Yeah, so that's the way you can access. You can even give a array of strings to if you want to pass more than one, and then you can access it using here. So you can explore more about that. So this is it. What I intended to give you guys through the session was a basic overview of how exactly widgets work in Flutter, some of the most used widgets, and some of the basic methods of navigating between screens, passing data through screens, and how this is just a small part of Flutter. Okay, Flutter is immensely creative. It has a lot amount of widgets. It has a lot amount of packages, libraries, and you can explore a lot in Flutter. Flutter gives you a flexibility to do like literally even things which you think which are impossible. You just have to explore things and keep improving. That's it. That is it from my sides. Any questions, any doubts which you guys have, anything which you didn't understand, which you want me to explain again? Anyone? Nothing from your side? Any feedback on how further sessions should be improved or something? Okay, what is context? So context here is a variable name for build context, right? So what build context exactly does is it gives an overview, or it gives the position of the particular widget in its entire widget tree, right? Suppose it gives the information about the parent widget of a current widget, right? About its children and basically its position in the widget tree. If yeah, so it might look intimidating as of now, but it will get easier when you understand more. So, is it clear? Any other questions, guys? Any feedback on how the session should be conducted or about the assignments or something? I mean, what exactly do you mean by it would be better to code along with me? I mean, yeah, see, the thing is, it'll take too much time, right? We have limited time per session. So, and what exactly do you mean by you want to code along with us? Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Anything else? Nothing. That's it. You can text any one of us through Teams. It's always an option. We'll be always available on Teams. You can text anytime. There's no issues. Sorry. List of topics for the assignment. I mean, we had specified that you had to do a to-do app, right? So whatever we teach week by week, you need to explore more into those topics and you need to implement that in your to-do app. We will be constructing an IMDb app. Today we have started that. So till the end of the bootcamp, we will be having a full-fledged working IMDb app. So similarly, you have to explore more into whatever we teach and you have to construct a to-do application, right? So list of topics is basically what we have covered through the bootcamp. And if you want, you can add additional things and things which you have explored. No one is stopping you from exploring, right? Can do any idea other than to do a Anirudh, you there? People are asking if they want to do anything other than the to do app.
Yeah, it's like for the assignment, we have no restrictions on what kind of app you want to do. We can do uh, whichever idea want to give an idea. Yeah, and also like when you guys are starting on the assignment, just uh, think of some app that
Your voice is
you process the hello.
your voice is feeble and it's not properly audible.
Answers in the chat.
Hello. Yeah, so what basically Anirudh was telling is that, there is no restriction on the app. Uh, You can do any app of your choice, but then it should include like at least 90-95% of whatever features we have like discussed here, the most important ones of them. So that's the thing. So any other questions on how we can make our teaching better or something? Did you guys understand today's session or no? Yeah, sure. We'll be sharing the GitHub link with you. We'll be uploading it on GitHub and the link will be provided. Sure. Anything else, guys, or like let's just wind up? The session is over. You guys can leave.